All right, so let me get my thing on here. So I'm not a member of Homeland Security. Just to let you know, it's just like any other news service. When we talk about Homeland Security, we put that thing up there. Maybe I'll make a nice artwork where it's that and something rabbinical. So the idea is, I agree, you can't just throw people out of the country because it's going to mess up the economy because it's so deep in the economy. But we have to start somewhere. And it appears the president will eventually approve of some level of work visa. It's not amnesty, it's work visa. Which means if we find that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you stay doing what you're supposed to be doing, you will have not a permanent residency, but you will have residency that can be renewed. And you'll be free at that point to look for a green card or whatever programs come your way. Right. But the idea is this: because of the mass numbers, that's why we can't get anywhere. Because they're not going to tell. They're not like an American citizen that's going to call you, and it isn't all because they're in the shadows and they don't want to be deported. Under Biden, obviously, they weren't going to be deported. They don't want to. They're not going to call you and say, "Hey, there's 3 girls over there, and this older guy with a couple of thug-looking guys, and they don't look like they're free to come and go as they want." They're not going to call you. There are a couple that will call you, and some of those people have actually been given citizenship, but generally, they're not going to. And that's what's going on. And then within that community, there's the people moving fentanyl. They're not going to call you and say they're moving fentanyl, where an American might do that. Well, it's a culture difference to begin with. Again, that's why I say you do need assimilation classes. I don't know if you're hearing me. You need to conduct assimilation classes. When they come in on a work visa, they have to take this class. I don't know if you're going to do it online or, almost everybody has a phone. There'd only be a few people that couldn't do it online, right? You can present videos. And in it, they have to answer these questions. And one of the questions will, at the end of one of the sections will be, what will happen to you if you drive drunk in the United States? You will possibly be fined, convicted, possibly jailed, but you will definitely be deported. Because they don't know. They think they're in Mexico. They think they're in Honduras. Well, the police chief drives drunk, so he's not going to arrest you for it. That's how it goes. The police chief has sex with his secretary, so when you rape somebody, he forced himself on the secretary. He ain't gonna look at you because a woman's a second-class citizen. Right. So you again come from Afghanistan, have sex with a 12-year-old, no big deal. They yell at you at the most. Well, now they'll kill you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it still goes on. I don't know. Right. So you see, these are things that you have to tell them. I mean, it seems like basic information, but they don't know. It just seems normal. You go out and you drink and you drive. People have made that mistake that are Americans. I understand that. But at the rate of undocumented immigrant DUIs, it's obvious that it's a lifestyle choice, not a mistake. Right. Is there an immigrant in there somewhere that accidentally did that? Probably so. Oh, I have to go look at my humidity here. I'm going to have to turn my dehumidifier on. Where are we at? It's been raining, I forgot. It's only 60%, not too bad there. Look at the other one. It jives with the other one. Well, actually, no, I got a Bluetooth. Yeah, because the mold can get pretty bad if you don't monitor that. Loading. Like the word loading is coming up weird. So there is violence on the horizon. So hopefully we heal that. Yada yada rafa. I'm gonna. Oh no, it's yeah. I'm gonna drop it. Oh no, it's not too humid. I ran my humidifier before. I think that's where it is. It's not too bad. I think I'll take it down a little bit, just because it's in the wall. It gets in the walls and stuff in these older places. Yeah, it looks like to me that I'm going to use just the red oxide primer and put a gloss coat on it, a triple thick, whatever it's called, gloss coat once it dries. That'll be fine. Oh no, this is kind of shiny. I might put one more coat on the top. That's weird. Missed it. Yeah, it's God's cue, and I'm probably not gonna. I'm not going to put the clear coat on today. Maybe tomorrow. Right. May have been water that got on it because it's raining out here. And I do have it, I have a shade on it and all that. So like the deep state is willing me to stay because they're mad because I'm leaving. So what they're trying to do is say, well, see, he left on his own and there was no reason. No, I'm not going to be sexualized on him. It's not going to you're not going to sit there and cast spells on me from corrupt members of that church. Now, it isn't the entire church. It's not the, I know that, and I don't mean that the entire church, even that entire ward. I mean, we can even get it down to that level. Right. See, now I can speak the LDS lingo. And I can speak better to the leaders inside. So what they're doing is they're willing me to stay, so there's no reason for me to leave that church. So they can make up a story about it. Right. They knew I was moving. They spent the last 2.5 years trying to force me out of the state. Right. It's busy. I got a lot of stuff to do, but it's too busy today to do it. I don't want to stress the government worker out anymore. I need to renew my registration, and I want to get a new plate because I really do like that plate, and I want to get it in a different style, which is great that they did that for me. So it's not everybody, right? But their hands are tied. The state made a black and white plate. Who do you think they made it for? It looked great and with Illinois 1 on it. Right. So I'll go renew that. And I'll pay the extra money to the state for the plate. Right. Thank you, Larry. And but they just corrupt, man. And the weather, I don't know. Weather's getting kind of funky here. And I should have went further north. I'm just tired, you know what I mean? I'm getting older, and I don't feel like jumping 15 states, Right. I should have went to Colorado Springs. That's where I messed up. Probably have been the same or better, Somebody said it'd probably be better there. It's not Aurora. Aurora is run by the immigrants. And the drug dealers, I believe. I can't tell you how it's run, but it's something along the lines of what I've been saying. All right, so we can go to my post here. In response to Hunter Biden. And I don't hate Hunter Biden. We're just having a civil conversation. I believe he was done wrong in life. I believe spies turned him into a drug addict and all those sexual promiscuity things or promiscuity things that he did. But the reality is there's a system. It's supposed to run a certain way. Now, if you do it right, wages won't go crazy. Well, because the people that are now undocumented will be documented, but it doesn't mean that they get more money, because you do realize that most undocumented people have false documentation, which in itself is disqualifying. This is one of the problems with even using the work visa, not full amnesty, is that you're giving work visas to people that have fake IDs in some of those cases. So again, it's a lot to think about there. But the idea is once you eradicate illegal immigration below a certain level, the wages for legal immigration will be the same. Right? They're actually undercutting the legal immigrant. I don't think it'll go up all that much, if at all. We only have it the way we have it because of how it's structured. Right? A lot of those wages won't go up. Because if you go to the meatpacking plant, they all look like the boss told you, they all got documentation, right, to work. So they are actually documented workers. So if they had a work visa to work there, that's the point. We need work visas for a lot of different jobs. Right. Agriculture, meat packing. I guess that's considered somewhat agriculture. Actually, I don't know if you call it. But what happens is when you get these large communities, they're shifting the United States, so we have these large swaths of real estate that the cartel owns through the people that are there. A lot of them say, well, if we give them citizens, nah, it's not going to work like that. Right. So again, what they're slowly doing is turning this country into Central America. Right. They do have a requirement to assimilate to a certain degree. There is a requirement. Again, they can keep their culture, but they have to assimilate. You can't drink and drive. You can't rape children. You can't not care about your community. I mean, a lot of Americans are degraded into this now. They don't care about their community. They don't care about their neighbor. Again, it's a psyop. Marshal Service is corrupt like that. They ran that psyop around me and the other employees. Right. You don't just care about yourself. Don't care about the world. Thank you, Larry. And again, we have indentured servitude. It's a form of slavery. Now, who knows when they'll pay it off? Who knows if they'll live long enough to pay it off? Who knows, the whole time here they're paying and they ship them back, before they pay it off. And then they got to start all over again. Right. And if you're in a community and you got bosses, immigrant bosses running it, they probably have to pay them protection money. They're not going to tell you about it. Some people you have to go to their businesses. You can't go to other businesses or somebody starts visiting you. Correct. So even the money you make, if they're not like ripping you off by saying pay protection, if you want to be protected, you'll go to their stores. And maybe those people pay. So again, he's right. There is a community of people that we need. We need them. The idea that we don't need them is a lie. Right? But because it's undocumented immigration process, there's no accountability. It brings discredit on their community, on this nation. It causes danger in their community, in our nation. They're not any safer than we are. They're probably less safe. So you're not helping any of them by continuing it. That's why I tell you, don't feed into the thing where they're, go illegal crazy. I mean, that's why I use the term undocumented, because you all use it so much for such nasty stuff, it discredits the process. Right. Again, if you want to use that term, it's fine. But I'm not big on it. Because a lot of those people are very important to us, but again, why are they undocumented? Because the system's broken. We have to it's written to work, actually, if you just do it. Right. Maybe a couple, modifications, but they just have to create work visas. Then there's accountability. Do something wrong, you're gone. Right. But again, there's too many here because a lot of them aren't working. They were on government programs. They were on government programs, and they were on stealing drugs. So yeah, they actually need the information from the SNAP program to clean it up. I mean, they're going to use it maybe for some ICE work, but they need the information because it isn't just poor people. We had people making like, $100,000 a year that had 4 SNAP accounts. Right. I think they're afraid that we're going to find out people in the state are complicit. So there's wealthy people who will apply for Medicaid, they'll apply for SNAP. Right? I mean, not a tremendous number, but a large enough number that we need to look at that. Right. Well, some states just don't cooperate with the program. I agree, Larry. Yeah, but you understand, if they clean the room, they need to be legally here. If we get rid of the illegal part of it, then they'll have their documentation. And we'll be sure who they are, and we'll sure that nothing happens to them. So Rose is cleaning your hotel room and she disappears. Nobody calls the cops. Why? Because the cops are going to deport them? No, because they're going to get messed up by the guy that raped her and killed her because he's a big drug boss. Thank you, Larry. So again, it's dysfunctional and broken. They're only talking about fixing it. Well, in some cases, those bosses own entire swaths of employment. I'm sure if an illegal immigrant applied and I applied in a Hispanic-controlled employment scenario, I wouldn't get a job. Unless they paid them to fire me. So they hire them, we'll fire them later because, the boss wants them done dirty. Right. Thanks, Larry. It's not. You're not going to get hired in a Latino company, a Latino employed company. Like if an American goes into where the illegal community is working, they're only going to hire illegals if they can. They own it. Then they become contractors, when they're doing the construction. Which, yeah, we all made a lot of people made money. I don't own a house, but if you own a house, you probably made money off of undocumented labor. You get house cheaper. But a lot of them are working with documentation. So it's not that they're undocumented. Right. Let's see what temperature it is in here. Make sure it doesn't drop down too low. I'm try to put it up one more. So again, of course, they're doing the labor, but somebody broke the system and never fixed it. Now, as far as get rid of them all, we don't need them, that's not real. Right. But again, there are people in Mexico that would, and Honduras and Guatemala that would come up here and take these jobs. Right. If we opened up work visas. Now, as far as loyalty to somebody that's worked for you for years, well, yeah, but, you know, the boss might be wrong, right? Well, the problem came that they didn't scrutinize the applications right. So there's people that have no chance. In other words, why have somebody come in based upon an amnesty that they're not going to get simply because, you know, you need labor. If you need labor, then you can do work visas. You're all wacko. Right? And then that person enters a system and is totally accountable. If he or she disappears from ICE or anything else, they're gone. Right? They have an obligation to remain accountable. In fact, one of the games is when you get close to your hearing, disappear. You can stay above board until they tell you to come in for the hearing. And now other people do go to the hearing and stuff. And then they would go to the hearing and they wouldn't get granted the amnesty, and then they get an order of removal, and they still just live here. It doesn't make any sense. Well, then what you're doing is you're creating a scenario where you can't just checking my clay oil lamps here. Where you can't do the visas because you got so many people here. You see, it's just self-defeating is what they call that. All right, that's got to be it. Now, it didn't look like the way the primer looked. A couple spots looked weird, so I hit it one more time. It should dry now, and then I'll paint it tomorrow morning with the clear. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the red oxide. I'm through. They're blocking it, so I'm researching. I ended up with probably the worst color I could have purchased. So, I mean, they're in the middle. I'm sitting there all day instead of looking at crooks. They're harassing me. Right. I had to order one more of these goblets. The buzz I got from Amazon, don't flame me. They said if 2 of them are damaged and you really want it, you know, obviously they're not all damaged. People are giving them a go when they get them. The stainless steel insert, on this one was dinged. The first one had like a stain on it. I was going to put a shin over it, but I just don't feel like, I just don't have the energy to go through it. Again, they're online doing crazy stuff. Right. Now this star is I'm probably going to end up repainting it too. I'm just going to put that right there with some masking tape later just to get the feel for it as to where I want to put it. I guess it goes down there better, or up there and down there. Look down there. This has to go right there. Well, it's going to empower the Torah. It's like what do they call this thing? A voodoo doll. the voodoo doll concept, but you work it in reverse. Just like Rabbi Lowe. You just do what Hashem tells you and it works. That's part of the power. Okay, here's the USBP intelligence unit. Smuggling networks. Yeah. See. And, you know, whatever they say goes. Like this guy, he runs probably a whole cities at times if he wants to. Or, you know, the undocumented community parts of the city. Right? Or anybody's affiliated with. Or the people he's affiliated with. Right. They used them for deep state operations. That's why, you know, it's the same thing as like the, you know, paying those contracts the extra money. Right. So then eventually you're going to have to give work visas. And you got to explain it to MAGA that it's not about expelling all the foreigners, as some of them, you know, could rightfully be here to do work that they have traditionally done, but doing it based upon accountability. And it goes both ways. The government will be accountable, the employer will be accountable, the immigrant will be accountable. Everybody will have accountability. There'll be a check and balance as to what's happening. And again, you give them an assimilation class, or you're going to fall, or the program will fall on its face. You actually have to sit in a class and say, these laws are laws. This is not your home country. Even if you get away with something, because you got to put this in their mind, because they're thinking, I'm getting away with it, right? It doesn't mean that everybody gets away with it, and it doesn't mean you'll get away with it again. Right? One DUI, you're gone. 100%. Well, I think at a certain point, sanctuary cities will be legislated illegal if Republicans do what they say they're going to do versus do something screwy where it's just hate the immigrant thing, right? No, they can legislate it. If you're intentionally withholding assistance to the immigrant to the ICE community, that's a felony crime. If you're purposefully releasing an immigrant that has a detainer, that's obstruction. That's interfering, impeding. Right? No, there is. Everybody knows in law enforcement that's how it's done. No matter what it's another law enforcement entity. It's looking for somebody to effectuate a lawful process of government. If you don't believe in it, what if they believe in marijuana cultivation, and we got somebody that's a cartel member? They end up arresting that person, and the feds want him for, you know, for all that he's doing. They don't have a right to not honor the detainer. Right? Same thing. The detainer system exists. If you're not honoring a detainer, then you're impeding and obstructing. And again, purposefully. There's times when people just can't, they just mess it up. Detainer process is not perfect. Right. But a lot of times when a detainer falls through, the sheriff or the marshal, whoever it is, sends people out to find the person and brings them back. That's how it happened. Traditionally used to happen. If they release somebody they're not supposed to, they help go find them. Right. Well, because horror of horrors, that person commits a crime while you release them. And again, we see that all over the place with the immigrants. It's not anti-immigrant. It's actually pro-immigrant to require the government to issue work visas. That's the other half of this. So how is he here? Attempting to provide material support to he's convicted for attempting to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization and false statements. How is he here? Or did he just get convicted? I mean, I don't even know how he's in the community. Google this, see if I can figure out why. That may be one of those where it's a mistake, maybe. I don't know. It don't make sense. Could have been mistakenly released. Yeah. Let me just go ahead and... How is that guy here? Those are federal crimes. And he's in Danbury. Oh, did you arrest him at the jail? Did you get him at Danbury? That's a woman's jail, isn't it? Yeah, I guess. It was a detainer pickup. Well, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison in February. Wait, yeah. Oh, you picked him up at Danbury. Was it camper? Make him a camper? Oh, so this guy, yeah, they just picked him up on detainer. I think, at least. And he probably picked up that guy on detainer, right? It's an arrest, but it's a detainer arrest. Right. At least I think it is. I couldn't figure this out. Like, how is he here? It's a federal crime. What do you get, good time, or are you just deporting them? Let me see, 2017. He must have got good time. He's probably actually a good inmate. Some of those people are good inmates, believe it or not. There's a couple inmates that are foreigners who are good people. I mean, committed a crime, but inside they were doing what they're supposed to, did their work, never caused trouble. Right. This guy told me that, I'm not a narcotic. Again, they all say stuff, right? But he says he's not a narcotics distributor. He's like, they set me up. German intelligence sent me up. I was like, well, I could believe that, but, I don't know. I wouldn't trust German intelligence if I was like Islamic, 30 years ago or whatever. Right. I don't know if he's real, but it's pretty funny. I used to talk to this guy. I can't remember if he gave me any information, like real information. I can't remember. I used to talk to him, and sometimes, it'll happen in conversation. If you just have conversations with inmates, first you have to establish that you're having conversations with inmates. You can actually receive like information that the other inmates would kill the person for while you're talking to them if you're off by them alone, and you just have a habit of doing that. Like I would talk to inmates all the time, and while I was talking to one about I think hot rods in Philadelphia, cruising in hot rods. He started telling me about one of the staff members. It was dirty. And then, we ended that part of it at a certain point and got back to conversation. Cruising Front Street. Because when you're in, I was working near, where I lived and, where I grew up. So this person, lived in that area in Philadelphia. We all used to drive. Didn't matter where you lived, you'd all travel to Front Street, and if you want to go to the big cruising location, right? And now it's like out of control down there. Because they're like, even at the point where they're crazy, they spin around in circles. What are you doing? You can't spin around in circles. You can lose that car any second. Right? You see them hitting people and stuff. And in some of these cars, I mean, back then, very rare that you get like a 10-second car. Now, a ton of people have 10-second cars and 9-second cars in the quarter mile. Back then, most people had between 12 and 15-second quarter mile cars on the street. Yeah, every once in a while, somebody would pull one off a trailer, do a wheelie down the street, do about 2 runs and get out of there before the cops come. Right. They come back from Adco or Maple Grove, and they'd go to Front Street and pull it off the trailer real quick, do a couple runs and get out of there. Right. But that's when actually the government, once upon a time, the government was more involved in street racing, especially in LA. There was this agreement that it was to be done a certain way, and everybody, agreed, and they did it, as safe as they can. The guy that ran it in LA was a guy with a Superbird, a black guy, big black guy with a Superbird. He's like 6'5", like refrigerator. It was like the size of a refrigerator. But he had a Superbird, and he ran the street racing club, and nobody, everybody agreed that it was, to be done a certain way, and they didn't bother them. Right? But now, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, that's like a detainer pickup. That went right. I was thinking, how's he on the street if it's a federal case? Criminal referral. Jeez. That's chump change, though. I mean, I'm not into chump change. Right. Well, of course. I mean, well, she's part of something. It's no big deal. It's just part of how politics run and all that. Well, yeah, it's scary to be. You committed a bunch of fraud with the government and a bunch of deep state fraud. You paid money for this, paid money for that. I hired PIs to go after people. Right. Why is this coming? That's kind of weird. That's coming up right now. Look into jail situations, prison situations. Well, we don't want to get to the point where they escape and people get killed. And again, she was, she obviously she could no longer serve as a correctional officer, but again, she was kind of defrauded also, I think. If I remember correctly. No, not defrauded, but baby, I love you, that kind of thing. Yeah, they're both. I think the original process was done wrong, right? Well, maybe it could have been done differently where some territory, again, it would have been easier back then, could have been allotted to the Arabs. Or just do a relocation. But you have to set them up. Again, the idea of setting them up and all that. He's probably getting out of jail too. These are detainer pickups, aren't they? She's probably in jail for like 10 years. Of course he's happy. Getting out of FCI. What's down there? Or is it a state charge? You'd be really happy. Get me out of here. I guess New Orleans prisons are probably pretty nasty. He gets to be with men instead of women. Women trying to be your girlfriend. Maybe that's what she's laughing at. Can you hear me? Women adapt pretty good to that stuff. Like the prison environment, they do girlfriend stuff while they're there, and then when they get out, they kind of go back to the other stuff, right? Well, if you study the psychology of sex in same sex in confinement, the men tend to have more of an abusive side to it than the women. The women are looking for nurturing and comfort more so. But again, some men are like that. What can learn? You pick her up at the city jail. It's technically an arrest. Or maybe Baltimore may not have turned him. Maybe that may have been an arrest. Yeah, Dominican people are well accepted in New York, but boy, there's some rough people, man. They have the hot temper, like what's his name, like Scarface. Some of them have some pretty hot tempers, right? That's a rough group of people, Dominicans, but they're well entrenched in New York and a couple other cities. Well, some Dominicans paid somebody. That's how it works. Again, in the UK, the oil money. That's what got that whole thing going in that direction of Sharia law, right? Some may have been blackmailed too into it. Yeah. So again, you got to do the assimilation program at least up front. Tell them some things that may say we're not joking. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Again, they're talking to people and say, "Don't worry. Look, I got this and I got that, and I'm good, and I'm not going like this guy." Or somebody with DUI in the history said, I'm good. DUIs don't matter. All right, let's go drinking. All right. You got to tell them, new sheriff in town. I mean, you don't know if it's boasting, just, back then was a whole different world. But they're doing that right now. They do it all the time. They're trying to do it to me too, where I said to help trans people and don't let trans kids be alone, but work the program so they're not getting operations because it's a psychological thing, right? So you have to figure out. Again, I don't know if you're researching it to figure out how to reverse it, right? But I still believe anti-estrogens and certain hormones would. Like, let's say if I was Elon's friend, and he asked me, well, my daughter or my son, well, I forget his name, but it's Vivian. My son wants to be Vivian. Say it that way. I would have told him, and he said, if he had, well, what should I do? I would say, well, what I recommend is to try first birth gender hormones and see if they work. See, so that's my advice for most people. But you have to discover what hormones do it. I believe it's not all sex hormones. I believe there's another hormone. Again, it's probably brain chemistry to a certain degree also. But you have to figure it out. I believe it's hormone-based brain chemistry, that kind of thing. And there's a bit of possession. So what happens is somebody wants to have sex with Vivian in 10 years, and they will it. Not everybody that wants to have sex with Vivian will it. Or even maybe in 2 years, I don't know. So, well, she got hit with it, and it changed a lot of things, whatever. But it could even change something her mother did to cause it. The mother may eat a certain diet while she's pregnant. I brought up eating a lot of soy while they're pregnant. Could do it. Again, were they vegetarians? Was he eating a lot of soy when he was a he? If you boycott Home Depot, you won't have anything, right? He's wearing Home Depot orange. Yeah, I don't relish this. I mean, like the woman holder isn't like, ha ha, now you get deported, just doing her job, It's like, it's a shame that they were put in this predicament. The Bidens like screwed them over. There is so much waste of time on the internet. I want to read that later. Research it. Well, because like you might read this news article here. If you research the name of the indicted person, you might find some other charges, and right, you might go back so many years that this person was sex trafficking multiple victims the whole time. Again, a kind of a sanctuary situation for criminals, and that's how you discover something like that within a city. Right, Overland Park? Right, Johnson County? Yeah, so you don't want to make somebody like him right. We've lost decency, we've lost civility. So you don't play into it, because online right now, all like if they can, this is also what happens. So you have ICE agents. If they get their identity, which I see you're giving up the identity of some ICE agents there with facial recognition when they're speaking out. But you did it. What they'll do what they can do is a psyop to make them more callous, so they'll go over a certain line, make them, speak with certain lingo that, is kind of distasteful. So again, that's part of the psyop also. So next thing you know, you'll like that. Remember that first administration? They had this. I don't remember what was it, ICE or Border Patrol page where they were, right, where very unflattering things going on there, right? So again, you have to monitor. They should be told to monitor too. Anybody you put online on that ICE interview thing, you got to monitor what happens to them online. See if their identities were figured out. And see if they're being inundated in their feeds with something. It could even seem like pro-ICE stuff. Like I said, it starts radicalizing them and taking them to the next step until they're saying and doing things that are discrediting to the process. So that they would be some good people to do it with, just to see if anything changes in their feeds, or maybe they were already discovered. I don't know. That's what I'm telling you. You got to get the work visa program going, and they can be replaced actually, but you have to bring them in from another country, right? I understand where the Native Americans are coming from, but in reality, I don't know if it's something that the president should be doing at this point. But the reality is, everybody appropriates everybody. I mean, there's Native Americans out there eating spaghetti, pizza, So again, it's just what they're doing. It's a psyop to take you and overly sensitize you so they can manipulate you. But what you'll find is they'll say they're appropriating over here and not say they're appropriating over there. And who's the person? The deep state will never be accused of appropriating by the Native Americans. And probably the biggest appropriators and getting big money to help natives, and right, and they don't actually do much of anything. Right, just keep that perpetuating. I agree, sir. I don't know if that's legal. Because that's a certain form of impeding. If your process is to normally turn people over for detainers, then you have, if you're not doing that, then you're impeding specifically that process. It's not a choice. I don't believe it's a choice. Now, of course, it's a memorandum of an agreement. But if your standard practice is to honor detainers and you decide not to honor that detainer on purpose, then you're violating, I believe you're violating a law and you're impeding and obstructing. So let's say there's 90 agencies that he receives detainers from, he honors. The 91st is ICE, he won't. So that means that they are attempting to impede and obstruct ICE operations. And that's against federal law. The law, I think the law is unlawful if you argue it like that. In the absence of the argument that they honor every other detainer, no, it's not impeding. Because you're supposed to why are you not honoring? You don't believe in it, but that's impeding. These things inside to dry better. A little bit humid out here. Look, what's his name? I forget the guy's name. He's blind. Spiritually blinded at this point.
These first 6 months, Trey, of the Trump administration have been unprecedented, whether it is creating.
Look, he got Botox and all that. It might be hype. They still might be within the law. Well, what Tulsi Gabbard was saying, you could politically say that, but I don't know if you can legally say it. Right. It might actually be AI. Yeah, you gotta build something there. That one's already been. See, this has already been discredited. Right. It's just Photoshop.
For these people, allow them to stay, to continue working, because they are needed. You see, it's what I'm trying to do is to bring some common sense, which is the least common of all senses, to this conversation. And I know that someone from Miami could do it easily because, I was on Univision and I served that community for many years. Besides, now I'm representing some of their family members. It's easy. The economy needs them. They do not have a criminal record. They have not gone into trouble. They have been here for a long time. They have roots in the country. Let them stay. Don't give them any type of federal programs. And allow them to pay taxes, help the Social Security Fund, and let them stay and contribute with the economy with no criminal record. What is wrong with that? We need them. We give them dignity. At some point in the future, another legislator will write another law to give them paths to citizenship. Right now, what we need to do is to buy peace for these people, allow them to stay.
See that pass for citizenship? That's going to get her in trouble. Right. 100%. Well, because they're here illegally. Right. That's the problem. See, she's messing up. I can't believe she just said that. Now, they're open to apply for citizenship, but to give them, people won't pass it for that, right? Based upon what exists now, right? Really, the easiest thing is just start bringing, like I said, you get with the labor department, you get with ICE, you get with everybody, and you figure out what you need to replace that workforce. And you start bringing in people from outside legally. You actually calculate the number of work visas you need. Start small at first. If you need, I don't even know how many. Let's say you need 40,000 agricultural worker visas. You start small. Maybe 5,000 or something like that, or some 5,000 probably. Then you bring 5,000 people in to start working. And then what ICE is doing won't matter as much because you're replacing them all the time. Well, again, Biden's the one that made the mess. Right? You shouldn't get that far behind on that kind of stuff. Right? In fact, at any given point, Biden could have created work visas, I think. Right? Or at least try to get them forward. Maybe he did, actually. I think maybe he tried, but he connected it to other stuff. Yeah, I'm not. I got a lot to do, but Monday's a bad day. I'm not going to contribute to the madness and stress everybody out that I'm going to call. I'll wait till Tuesday. I wish I knew where my tape was. The masking tape. Like I said, their curses are up, so stuff's a little. Oh, no, it's. They're still trying to get me to move out before my lease is up, right? I get a big bonus if I do that, right? That's probably why they hit me in the church also, to see if they can trigger that, and then everybody gets their little chunk of the change, the corrupt criminal change. You're not going to play that game where good is evil and evil is good. It's just not going to do that, any of you. Right? These are criminal enterprise. They're into racketeering and organized crime, man. The same way as O-scale account. What's it? I don't know if it's cops or who it is. I'm sure there's some cops involved. Right? Just the same thing as O-scale accounting in Florida. Same kind of. They're thugs, man. They're not cops. They're thugs, even though they're working. They're thugs, man. Their mind is the mind of an organized crime boss. They got no care for anything or anybody. It's all just a scam to them. Why are they not arrested? Because you're running the organization that I said you're running with the extortion and all that. Right. No, can't get Kansas City metropolitan area a go whatsoever. Like I said, I give a few people in the LDS church a go, but they are who they are. I'm part of the real 70. I'm part of the real 72. So again, you can have your little religions and stuff, and I'm not dissing the LDS. I understand they have a religion, it's going and all that, but there's other things that are not aligned with real religions. In fact, Yeshua ben David wasn't aligned with a real religion. Want to diss me? I'll dish you back twice as hard, all of you. Then you'll all go down. Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Larry. Again, they want me to remind you that their quorum of 12 would agree that there are other things. Right? They probably heard from me since they were little kids. I thought you were in the church. Sorry, oops. Thanks. You knew this day was coming, all of you, where I'd be on the tail end of my life. You did it, when I was in my 20s. Knowing that it could have killed me, and that you killed other people with it. But you wanted your happy family, your big family, your big money, right? That's what happened. Corrupt criminal families took over everything. Again, it's the idea of sending your kid to law school, send your kid here. If you're saying you're going to send your kid to law school, eventually the mafia is going to figure out to make them FBI agents, right? Yeah, mafia's hidden everywhere. Like I said, the richest guy on our street, everybody was kind of jealous. He had beautiful pool, always had money. He was a bookie, running numbers. We didn't find out till we were well in our adult years. So that's mafia. Maybe been Jewish mafia, actually, but I think they were Jewish. But they were crooks. Same thing's going out there today. FBI agent, family's a crook. Oh, but we had a sanitation business. Same idea. Actually. Yeah, I gotta wait for my. They messed up my order, but that's okay. I mean, I knew it was going to come later, so I went through with it anyway. But I should actually did 2 separate orders for the one piece for the guy there earlier. I would need some masking tape. I want to mask. If I use masking tape, is I kind of roll it over on itself, and then I'll stick that star on there, and I'll take a look at it from all angles before I actually affix it. And then I'll probably pull that back down and paint it with that paint so it matches. Some really nice paint. Well, I don't know if Hashem actually prefers it to be gold, because what you all do in the name of gold is evil, downright evil, including religions and religious people and religious leaders. Yeah, so if you wanted to, well, that thing's going to be history now. She said pathway to citizenship later. I mean, if it's not AI, she messed up. Right. Yeah, that's like weird. The whole thing with going the MRI. That's kind of. He looked like a fairly healthy guy for his age. I'll tell you that. Right. Spent his whole life staying healthy. Go on in a second. He had a 1-pound chain around his neck. That's crazy. But again, Biden created this mess. He over imported. I think Trump over deported on his first administration because of COVID and all that. We didn't have. See how this works.
Wow.
That's crazy. You got to do something about India. They're getting a little crazy over there again. All right. See, they don't care about people like they're supposed to. Again, some Americans are becoming like that. Right. What are they doing?
Out of my face.
Can I help you? Can I help you? I need to see who.
You don't need to see shit, bitch. Get the fuck out of my face.
Oh, God. You don't need to say that.
Shame on you. ¿Cuál es su nombre? Oiga, ¿cuál es su nombre? ¿Cómo se llama? Oiga, ¿cómo se llama? Dígame su nombre, oiga. ¿Cómo se llama? Dígame todo su nombre, por favor. Su nombre. Jorge, ¿qué? Fuck you guys. You guys should be ashamed. Shut the fuck up. What the fuck is your name and your... What's your name? And what's your badge number? You fucking Gestapo motherfuckers. You need a... Fuck you.
No, federal agents don't give you their name or their badge number.
Fuck you.
Right. You're just a member of the public. They don't give you nothing. I don't know what it might be some sort of celebration. I mean, I'm not. It's not unconstitutional. I mean, obviously, Hunter's right to a certain degree, but again, it's a tired argument that has proven damaging. Right? There's nothing wrong with letting people in, but you got to let the right people in. I mean, amnesty can be entered into by people that lawfully are here for amnesty. You can also, even let people in just to work. Again, the idea is, they weren't even going to let them work. They were just going to let them come in here. I mean, how does that work? Right. Read, Larry. Got no idea, Larry. You let all these people in, and there was no, they weren't even going to let them work. I mean, even if they wanted to work, how does that work? Wonder how many of these are bots. They were actually allowed to investigate him, but they went past where it was apparent, right, that anything needed to happen, right. Well, it was extortion, right. The whole Comey, or the whole Mueller thing, trying to extort Trump, not to investigate certain things. It may have worked, right. But he's definitely getting more energized this time. Well, it doesn't mean that Trump did anything. Extortion doesn't require the victim to necessarily do anything. They just hold that thing over his head and harass him and keep investigating him. That's kind of the extortion thing. Right? Then they turn up the heat when he does something they don't want him to do. That's PSYOP also, right? A PSYOP extortion. But also a PSYOP changing of the mind, so you can't focus on what you're doing, or you develop an aversion to it. It's kind of corrections 101 with home in there. That's how it's done, right? Like the shakedown in the federal prison, right? Or in a prison. Taking down a room, right? Trying to wait for my curry powder to get here. See what the temperature is in here. See if I have it right. It's a little cool in here because it's cool outside. What is that? So again, it's not, again, that kind of information tells you that when they go to Home Depot, they know who they're going to probably find. Right. All right, so all right, stay peaceful, praise God in all that you do, praise God.